welcome to the November edition of Post Puroresu. My name is WH Park, and usually it's John Pollock who opens up the show and introduces me. But unfortunately, John and I could not make our schedules work. And so I thought, okay, I want to do a show this month because I want to talk about the big news, which is going to be kind of our second story. We're gonna lead off with kind of like do some like warm up topics first, and then we're gonna get into the big Noah versus New Japan at Wrestle Kingdom Night 3 in Yokohama on January 8th. We're gonna talk about the announcement. We're gonna talk about how the tickets are doing, and which, spoiler alert, they're doing pretty well. But I could not do this show by myself because I don't want to talk to myself. So I thought, who can I get? If it's not John Pollock, who can I get? And I thought, you know what? I loved talking to this person before about on Post Puroresu, and I thought I'd contact him. And he is the most in-demand person at Post Wrestling this week. Not only is he going to be on Post Puroresu, he's already been on Up Next with the lit one himself, Braden Harrington. He's got his own show with the Brigadier Martin Bushby that's been released this week as well. It's Andrew Thompson. And Andrew, thank you so much for joining me, fitting me in your busy schedule.
I appreciate you bringing me back on the Post Puroresu, man. It's going to be a good time. It's a lot of pressure trying to follow up on the last one we did, but we're going to see where we go from here.
Yeah, well, the big news is going to be Noah versus New Japan, like the announcement, the press conference they had, a lot of the comments that have been made by wrestlers from both sides. But I want to start off the show, first of all, like, how have you been, by the way?
I've been good, man. It's been a very eventful week, very eventful year. The year's almost coming to an end, so it's about that time, like, where everybody's kind of reflecting on all that they've done personally and professionally. It's been a up and down year, to say the least, but a lot of positives. Can't complain. So yeah, man, I'm just grateful. It's exciting.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do the post end of year show soon, and probably gonna get like the email like, hey, can you record something for us, and we'll play it on the show at the end of the year. Like that's an exciting time.
There we go. Nah, for sure. But like you said, man, we're gonna start off with some warm up topics before we get into the big stuff, which is of course the Noah versus New Japan show on January 8th.
So I want to first talk about as of this recording, we're recording this on a Friday night here Eastern time, right? And in Japan, there's going to be a big show. Andrew, it's going to be the Tokyo Super Wars show from Stardom. And I'm not going to do a preview of this show per se. I just want to kind of talk about some of the bigger matches in broad strokes, because it's going to lead into the December 29th year-end show for Stardom, which is, I think, going to be their biggest show of the year. It's going to be at, I've seen conflicting reports. It's Ryogoku's Sumo Hall or Budokan. I think it's Sumo Hall because that's what it says on their official Twitter. It's but the slate, the scheduled main event for that show, for the December 29th show, is supposed to be Utami Hayashishita, the current and reigning World of Stardom champion. She's the holder of the red belt, and she's going to be challenged by Shuri, who won the 5-star Grand Prix, and it's a rematch. Like, it's the number 3. It's gonna and both of their previous encounters have ended in time limit draws. So I think it's going to be interesting to see like what happens on this show on November 27th, which is headlined by Hayashishita taking on Shuri's stablemate from Donna Del Mondo, Micah, for the World of Stardom Championship. I don't think Micah's going to win, because it wouldn't really be as big of a draw to have Shuri fight Micah. The big match, the big money draw, right, is Utami versus Shuri. So I think this should be a good match, and I think it's really good for Micah to have this match, because I think it's designed to kind of elevate her and to get her ready for the next year coming up to kind of join like the kind of the top level of stars in Stardom. Yeah, because
like you said, it's probably going to lead to the Shuri versus Utami match. Like, this is going to be the third time. Well, I'm gonna say, as we're recording this, likely probably going to be the third time that Utami and Suri have gone one-on-one. I think the first match was that the one that everybody was talking about a few months back, and then I think they went one-on-one. I want to say, what was that? September.
They were in the Grand Prix.
The Grand Prix. Yep. So yeah,
and they went to time limit draw both matches. Like the first one was like over 60 minutes, and this one, the one in the Grand Prix was only 15 minutes or 20 minutes because that they does have a time limit draw of like under 30 minutes. So, which is, by the way, this is something New Japan should adopt. if like for the G1 is like, fuck your 30-minute time limit draws or fucking 1 hour ones. It's like, I don't want to see this shit in like COVID era. No applause. Wrestling, it's terrible. But anyways, we're getting ahead of ourselves with the New Japan talk. But other matches on this show are going to be the Wonder of Stardom Championship, Mina Shirakawa taking on Tam Nakano, who's just been killing it with these title defenses, and they're both in the same unit, Cosmic Angel, so that should be a fun match. I don't think Tom's going to lose this belt. I think she's going to continue going into the December 29th show as the champion. And SWA title Ryogoku briefcase match. So Shuri is the briefcase holder. Yeah. She's also the SWA title holder. She's going to take on her student, her kohai, her disciple in Konami, who's in Oedo Tai. And I got to say, Andrew, this is probably the match I'm most looking forward to because this match was supposed to happen earlier this year, but because of Konami's injury, she could not participate in this. Yeah. But the history between these two is really deep, and I think they match each other so well stylistically that I'm hoping that Konami is like 100% ready to go, and it's gonna have, I think, probably the match of the night with Shuri.
Yeah, say Konami, she had like a cute something. I remember I had wrote it. You just reminded me. I remember I had wrote a story about this last month, and I know she had been out of action for a little while. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that she's back in the swing of things.
Did we talk about like her history with Shuri? Do you know about the history with between Konami and Shuri?
No, I'm not that caught up on it.
So basically, so Konami was trained by WWE's Asuka when she was in Japan as Kana. Okay, so she was living with Asuka in Japan, and then one day, Asuka came home and told Konami, "Hey, I'm going to America because I just got signed with the WWE. You got to find a new place to live." But guess who else was like kind of being mentored by Asuka? It was Shuri. And Shuri said, "Hey, you come live with me."
That's cool.
So
that's not cool that Asuka left her, but I guess, I think that's a cool little tidbit to throw in there. That's cool.
So these two are pretty tight. They like have a deep personal relationship that goes beyond like what you see in the ring or on TV. And so like I think when you have situations like that, Andrew, I feel it enhances like a wrestling storyline and a wrestling match.
Yeah, for sure. And I know also on that card, it's going to be like a 3-way or 4-way, and the winner of that is supposed to challenge Utami for they're going to be the number one contenders of the World of Stardom title, right?
Yeah, so the Wonder of Stardom number one contender match is Saya Kaibatani from
the
Queen's
Wonder
Quest.
of Stardom title. My bad.
Yeah. Versus Natsupoi from Donna Del Mundo versus Himeka, who's also from Donna Del Mundo. So I'm going to say like if Konami is not able to do that match, like the winner of that match could just be slotted in and say, well, you know what? I won this number one contender match, but I want to challenge you, and instead of the missing Konami. Hopefully Konami can do the match. I really, really want Konami to be able to do the match. But also another championship match is going to be the high speed championship match, and Koguma, who's just kind of recently returned back to Stardom, is going to take on the current champion Starlight Kid, whose transformation as a heel has been amazing. Like just the growth she has shown as a character from the kind of like really kind of this white meat babyface, kind of being kind of the tag partner and kind of like the apprentice to Mayu Iwatani, to joining Oedo Tai, like against her will. She was like, Mayu lost a match. So they said, we're taking Kid, we're going to make her a heel. And then at first Kid was not into it, but then she embraced it. And it's a bit amazing. It's just like, she is naturally a great heel.
Did she first make that switch on that show when Utami and Suri had that first one-on-one match? Because I remember, was that when she first made the when she first made the switch over, because I remember they had her stable had lost the match that she had to join. Because I remember, I think that was the first time that I had saw her, like when she had to, go to the other side and they were celebrating or something along those lines.
Yeah, they were celebrating. She was not happy, but she realized, not also like in storyline, but it's kind of funny how they blur storyline and reality. Whereas like she's like, hey, I can become, I can grow as a heel, like in terms of your character and like your work as a professional wrestler, but also like in storyline, she's like, I can grow if I'm a heel, if I'm out of the shadow of Mayu Iwatani. And I just think it's been a really great story. It's one of the better storylines that and in Stardom, but it's like by saying that, I don't want to say like Stardom is full of bad storylines. Actually, I think they're probably one of the best booked promotions in the world, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think it should be a fun match. I don't see Starlight Kid losing this match. It would make no sense. But yeah, and then it's rounded up by some other matches that we're not going to get really into. There's not really that much to this card beyond that. I think it's a fun looking card. I hope to get a chance to watch it later this weekend. I probably won't watch it live as I have to work while it's going to be on. So, but yeah, it should be a fun match. But I am going to do my best to try to watch the December 29th show, Andrew.
Yeah, for sure. Like you mentioned some of the matches that were on the sort of the undercard, or some of the matches that aren't really that hyped around. I know Hazuki is she's like, I know she's been back in the swing of things for like I'll say about 2 months or so now, because I know she had retired in 2019 and then she came back, and I know she did an interview not too long ago, and she was just more so the on top of people asking her about coming back, like she was like really to the point where she was like, I done with wrestling. And then like it was like the constant people on Twitter asking her, when's the comeback. And then she said the thing that really locked her in as far as like, okay, I know I'm gonna come back, but she said it was the Hana Kimura Memorial Show. Like that was the thing that was like, okay, yeah, I'm coming back. So I that was a little a cool little tidbit. So it's cool to see her, back in the swing of things, because she's like 20, 26, 25, like she's 20, like she's early 20s. So like, that's you see a lot of wrestlers sort of making the decision to sort of step away early. So it was kind of cool to see her, sort of find her way back around there.
Well, it's interesting because like when she, announced her retirement, it was really strange because it's like, why would you be announcing, why are you retiring? Like you're one of the like top prospects to become a main event player in Stardom. And then when I was at her retirement show. Oh, for real? Yeah, I was at the retirement ceremony, and like she basically said, I didn't want to retire. Fuck Stardom for making me retire. And we're like, me and my friend were like, whoa, what's going on here? And like, it was a lot of controversy because like they still haven't said, like it seemed like it was a forced retirement, and there's like a lot of speculation out there, like maybe something shady in Hazuki's family, like maybe some organized crime ties. I don't know. This is just like speculation out there. I'm not saying it's true or not because I don't know. But like, like whatever the problem was, like about, like 2 years ago, it's done now because she's been back. And I think she's really kind of livened things up on the cards, and like she has joined up with Mayu's unit, the main army of stars, so that's kind of interesting. And I'm really enjoying her work with Koguma, who's her, she trained with her, and they're legit really strong friends in real life. So this has been great to see them as a tag team as well. So yeah, I'm excited for like what the future holds for Hazuki. I think 2022 is going to be a big year for Starlight Kid, for Hazuki, and for Shuri. I think it's going to be great if Shuri wins the title, and she's kind of like the spearhead to lead Stardom into like bigger and better things in 2022.
You want to know what's going to be cool at that at that Ryogoku show on December 29th? I think that's probably going to be when Julia returns, because I know she said she was going to probably, like, she was aiming to come back around that time. So I think it's going to be cool to see her, whenever she come back from that neck injury.
Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna do something with the tag titles, the Goddess tag titles, because she is co-holder of those with Shuri. But if Shuri is the the SWA champion and the World of Stardom champion and the Goddess tag team champions, I think something's got to give there. I think They will probably say you have to be one of these. You can't be all of them. And I think if she wins the red belt, that she'll be the red champion and give up the the tag titles and the SWA title. I would rather like her and Julia lose them in a match. Like I'm not a big fan of vacating titles myself, but we'll see what happens there, Andrew.
Julia, bro, she like on top of course being a really good wrestler, she has a cool ass look. She has a really cool look. Like I think that's like one of the things that like for people that maybe not are that like so tuned into Stardom and they just sort of keep up through social media and whatnot. Like I think people are like drawn in by Julia's like her unique look on that she sports to the ring and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean it's something that she's really adopted since losing the hair match against Tom Nakano.
Yeah,
and like kind of just taking it as an opportunity. Excuse me, like just almost burping there, but I held it in. TMI for a lot of WH. Come on, but yeah, like I think with Julia, it's been great to see her kind of just experiment with like her costuming and also her hairstyle. Who knows? She hasn't been on TV for a while, so maybe she's gonna have a like completely different like hair length and hair color, hairstyle. It'll be fun to watch. But I think you're right. I do think we might even see her like on this this 27th show that's happening this weekend. Well, maybe she'll make an appearance.
Yeah, not wrestle, but like on the appearance.
Yeah, just appearance. Yeah. Maybe tease something for the 29th show. She's gonna actually wrestle. Maybe you're gonna set it up on this show, because like obviously she won't be defending the tag titles on that show because Shuri is going to be challenging for the world title. So maybe she's going to be challenging for a singles title. Who knows? We'll find out. But so that's Stardom talk. And do you have any other topics you want to get into before we get into Noah versus New Japan Pro Wrestling?
There was one more thing on the Stardom front. Like but it is old news at this point. But I just kind of want to get your take on it. Like I know Jungle Kyona had left Stardom a while back. Like do you have like any guesses or any like just just ideas on the top of your head, or where you think she might land? You think she might head over to the US? Anything like that? Just any guesses on the top of your head?
I mean, I talked about this with Karen Peterson. Like, I do think like again, it's like, why is she leaving Stardom? Because she didn't say she was like retiring. She just said, I'm not going to be wrestling for Stardom. And that like she hinted that she's going to become a freelance wrestler. So I can see her showing up on the indies, like, being a freelance wrestler, working for like Sendai Girls, working for Ice Ribbon, working for, Marvelous, tons of promotions. I think any wrestling promotion out there that she approaches will be like, yeah, we totally want you on our shows. And like, she'll be a draw because I think there is, she creates a vacuum with her departure from Stardom, because like she had a really strong fan base among the fans of Stardom, and I think they'll follow her wherever she shows up, like probably in the coming year.
Yeah, for sure. But so the transition to what you were saying, the big show January 8th, man, Noah versus New Japan.
So it was really interesting how this all came about, Andrew, because like Noah and New Japan were like tweeting out like kind of at the same time, the same kind of information. They were linking to each other's like tweets and shit like this. And then they had the press conference together, and they announced like, we're gonna have on January 8th the third Wrestle Kingdom show of 2022. It's going to be Noah versus New Japan. And just to backtrack a little, Andrew, like when New Japan announced that they were going to do 3 nights of Wrestle Kingdom shows, okay, obviously January 4th and 5th are a given. They that's kind of like their lock-in now. They're going to do 2 days at the Tokyo Dome. But then they announced that this a week later, they're going to do a show in Yokohama. And I was like, what? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Why would you even call it Wrestle Kingdom? Just call it like New Year's Dash, But then like they make this announcement and they say, oh, Yokohama and January 8th are going to be, the dates and the site for this big show. Like this, honestly, like this is taken over the talk of Japanese wrestling, because like we don't know what the matches are going to be. There's so much speculation out there. And I got to think that this has been in place for months, because there's no way they decided to run that show without having this announcement already, or these plans, this show already figured out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I definitely can see that. You want to know what? I think this January 8th show has sort of it honestly has more excitement around it than the Wrestle Kingdom itself. Like I know it's a part of Wrestle Kingdom, but I mean more sort of dome shows. It kind of has like more hype around it, and I think that is a positive and a negative thing. More so positive because it's all within the threshold of Wrestle Kingdom. So I see New Japan coming out of this with a plus. Yeah, man. I think the New Japan and Noah show it's always a positive when two companies come together and present a show that can generate income. Like like I said, it's a win-win. I think it also somewhat shows how much the pandemic has affected the wrestling scene in Japan. Like that, you have to have these two major. I don't want to word it in a way like that, but like more so, I think it just goes to show you like, that two companies who have been affected a lot by the pandemic had to come together and just be like, you know what, let's try to bring in as much as we can. And then I like you, like me and you sort of talked about off air. Like I think it's probably surefire thing that this thing is probably going to be packed out.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I got it from a source in Japan, like who's like involved with one of the companies, and I reached out to this person. I said, "Hey, do you know what the figures are like so far?" And they were like, "There's no numbers out there like that they could access." But the person was telling me that like the initial allotment of tickets have sold out. So like that's what they're running with it in the Japanese press is like, oh, this show's sold out, but it's not sold out. It's what's been made available has been sold out, and that New Japan it is a New Japan show. Like they're the ones organizing it. Obviously, it's under the banner, under the title of Wrestle Kingdom, and like that New Japan is gonna see, okay, we're gonna start releasing more tickets. I also think that they're gonna try to see what the Japanese government is going to allow, and like if things are going to open up more in terms of like like capacities and like what fans can and can't do at these shows, because I really hope, just as a fan, Andrew, that noise, like people are able to cheer at this show.
Yes, yeah, I hope that's the case, and especially for the leading in prior to that with the two Tokyo Dome shows, I'm hoping that things are resembling of what they were prior to the pandemic. I think the crowds, man, they add so much to it. Like just hearing them, like audibly hearing them, it just adds a great deal to the matches. Like I'm pretty sure me and you could sit here like for 30 or 40 minutes and name the matches that we've probably seen in Japan that would have been what probably would have been rated so much higher if they had a crowd behind them, because the crowd adds so much to it. So yeah, I'm definitely along with you that I hope that that's the case.
I want to talk a little bit about like kind of like the history, of Noah and New Japan up to this point, because there was kind of like this Cold War between the companies because of, things that happened like years prior in, let me just show up my notes here. In 2016, like, I don't know if you were following Noah back then, but like there was this whole thing where, Minoru Suzuki and Suzuki Gun left New Japan and went to Noah. They did an invasion angle and they basically ruined the company. So they're bringing in all this like Suzuki Gun bullshit of interference and stuff. And they're like destroying Noah week in, week out. And it's like Noah fans responded, very, very passionately by like not going to shows anymore. Like, so their attendance dipped. And then it's like later revealed that the person booking all this is Jado. And, and funny enough, he was booked, he booked himself on these shows as Captain Noah, like they had Captain New Japan. Well, he was Captain Noah, but he was more like Captain, I'm going to fuck Noah. That's what he was more like, his real role, because it made no sense. I'd watch these shows and I get angry as like a wrestling fan, not necessarily as a Noah fan, as a wrestling fan, because I'd be like, this booking is shit and these matches are terrible. And it's not till they kind of divorce themselves from Noah, from New Japan, that Noah starts, getting better and kind of, kind of getting out of this kind of slump that they're in, like creatively and financially. And it's not until like they hook up with Ledet and then now with Cyber Agent that we're seeing Noah. Actually, I think, you mentioned it's a win-win for New Japan. I think it's a win-win for Noah because one, New Japan has just admitted that Noah is on their level.
Very true.
Okay.
Very true.
Two, there is no way, if I'm Pro Wrestling Noah, if I'm Cyber Agent, right? There is no fucking way I am agreeing to this show unless like we have a say in booking and we have a say as like who wins. Like, I'm not saying all your guys are gonna beat all our top guys. No way. Because like they don't need to do that. They can just they can not do this show and they can be fine with their business because they're running, slow and steady, with Noah's business.
Is Nosawa's booking Noah, right?
Nosawa's booking Noah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't try not to hold that against him. He's not that much better of a booker than fucking Ghetto these days. But if, in terms of a business relationship, like Sanshiro Takagi, who runs Noah and DDT, like he's not going into this and like getting in, having meetings with, President Obari of New Japan and saying like, Okada can beat all our guys and we don't want, and so can Tanahashi, so can like Shingo, I'm going to say like, listen, I want at least two of my guys to win. And I want one of your top guys to lose. And we can have a main event. The main event can be a time limit draw. That's what what I would speculate like those kinds of negotiations were going to be like.
You want to know what I think that says a lot about Sanshiro Takagi because like you mentioned, he is, ever since, Noah being acquired by Cyber Agent, like now they under that umbrella with DDT and Tokyo Joshi Pro, and they have those established DDT and Tokyo Joshi Pro having established relationship with All Elite Wrestling. And I think Sanshiro, he is very much of the mindset of working with other promotions and working with other companies and sort of, mixing everything together. So I can definitely see him, of course, being like the real driving force behind, this Noah NJPW show. I think, like I mentioned, I think that says a lot about him. And I don't know if I'm trying to, not connect. I'm not trying to connect any dots here between, AEW or anything like that. But it just seems like Sanshiro, he's just very much of the mindset of, working together and everybody sort of coming out of this, getting some out of the relationship.
Well, DDT has always had like a very positive relationship with other companies. And to some degree, even with New Japan. That's how like Ibushi first got into New Japan, was through like a relationship like of open doors of like DDT guys working with New Japan. Like, so him and Kenny Omega, went over as juniors to New Japan Pro Wrestling and won the junior tag titles at the time. And then from there, like they, both eventually left and signed full time with New Japan. I really think it says something about Takagi's influence, Sanshiro Takagi, that is, as a negotiator. But I think it's also like very, very telling about the state of New Japan's finances right now, because I do not think they even think about doing this show. Like they'll throw out this idea like, oh, it's our 50th anniversary coming up. We want to have, we want to work with other companies. But it's always been, if you look at, the history of New Japan interpromotional, it's always been they want to be at a point of strength, right?
The front runners, yeah.
They want to be able to control the booking. They want to be able to say, okay, all our top guys are going to win. Look at their feud with UWFI, where they basically bought the company and then they said, we're up. Well, you guys are going to go over, because they're smart at first, but at the end of the feud, we're going to win and we're going to destroy all your top guys. And that's what happened, like culminating with, Nobuhiko Takada losing the title, the IWGP title, back to Shinya Hashimoto. And like this happened with like 0-1 and like with like, the match Hiroshi Tanahashi had with Harashima from DDT. Like he basically clowned this guy. He was like the new ace of DDT after, Ibushi had left basically that position. So it's like, this is, I think, a point where New Japan has to be like working not from a position of strength, but a position of negotiation with Noah. Like Noah had to like just I assume they played hardball because they don't need to do this with New Japan. Like it's good for them. Don't get me wrong, but were they suffering? Terrible financial hardship because of like really bad decisions with the amount of shows that they were putting on? No, because they weren't overextending themselves like New Japan was this past year. So you got to think like New Japan was like, fuck, we got to do something.
Yeah.
We got to do something big. Okay. Interpromotional, and who's on level with them in Japan? It's Noah. That's the perception among general Japanese fans and like between both companies. So it's going to be exciting. Like now the speculation is like, who's going to face who?
Yeah. You want to know something that you just said, like really, really stuck out. And I kind of wanted to bring this up. And me and you sort of talked about it before we started recording. Like Tetsuya Naito had made some comments about this show. And we I think we all know at this point that Naito is he's the definition of a worker. He likes to get the media stirred up. He even tweets out some of the links to the stories that he does and, gets opinions out there. But something he said that I really think sort of blended like the line between the Tetsuya Naito character and his real thoughts and something specific to what you, not he responded to you directly, but it just is very in line with what you said about New Japan's thinking or the internal thinking, I should say, in regards to this upcoming show with Noah. He said, and I quote, he said, "I want to be a driving force for the fans to get up from the corona disaster through the power of wrestling that will be generated by the interaction. If that is the case, why haven't they, being Noah and New Japan, interacted for 5 years? If they really have such great power, why didn't they just have them in the World Tag League instead of next year? To me, it looks like New Japan, which is suffering from corona, asked Noah for help. And I wish they would have taken a more dignified stance." He said they say they're doing it for the fans, but at the end of the day, it looks like they're doing it for their own organization. And then he added the following, and he said, "I think it was a good announcement for pro wrestling in terms of attracting attention, but he wishes they would have did the announcement after the Best of the Super Juniors of World Tag League, because I don't think anybody's paying attention to what's going on with that. I know I'm not." but
he's always been smart about like, listen, like, even if it's like he's in the headlines, he's always been like, no, don't talk about me. Talk about this, right? Don't like focus on the company as a whole. And like, especially if like the news about him is not relevant or anything like that. And I think he's hit it, I mean, he's not afraid because he's the Steve Austin basically of New Japan these days. Like he's untouchable. Like what are you gonna do? Are they gonna fire him? No. If he's quote unquote shooting on the situation, they're not going to fire him. And he's always had this aspect of his character since he developed the Ingobernables persona of his Naito character. So it's interesting that he's very upfront about this. But you had like some really other like great comments from some other members of both promotions where like, I remember I saw this meme out there where, they're asking, Katsuhiko Nakajima, who's the current GHC heavyweight champion. They're asking him, "Hey, what do you been watching any Japan recently?" No. And it's probably true. And a lot of people were like taking that. It's like, hey, same vibe. Me too. I haven't been watching either New Japan.
But it's Nakajima. He's facing Kano soon, right?
Oh, this weekend. Yeah, it's a title.
There's a title versus title.
Yeah. So I don't think Nakajima is losing that match.
Right.
I don't think Kano's like a big name within Noah, but like Nakajima is a big name in ProRes. He's a much bigger name. I think like if you have Katsuhiko Nakajima facing off against anyone, Okada, Tanahashi, Shingo Takagi, like, and they have a rivalry. I think Shingo has never won a match against Nakajima when Nakajima was a teenager wrestling all over Japan for different companies because he was, under the, the management of Kensuke Sasaki as his tag partner and as his more or less adopted son when Kensuke had like the power to like just freelance everywhere. And he'd bring Nakajima along. And that's why Nakajima is the wrestler that he is, because he has experience in every company, including in Dragon Gate, where he had, fought against like Shingo Takagi before.
Like we used to discuss when you mentioned some of the matches or some of the speculated matches or some of the things that we would like to see personally. Honestly, I would like to see Go Shiozaki go against Tanahashi. I think that'd be like a cool little match, especially Go coming off that shoulder surgery. Like I think it'd be a nice little way to sort of ease him back into the ring. But of course, with Go and Tanahashi, I don't think that's one where it would be like this immense amount of pressure to go out there and deliver this like classic, at least from my standpoint, how I'm looking at it. I think that would just be one where it's like, I'm expecting that just to be a good match. I'm not expecting them to go out there and just like tear the house down, and they probably could, but like, I think that would be like a good thing for a good big comeback match for Go, especially coming off. I think he's been out since March or May. So I think that'd be like a solid one for him. Like a high take that I have, I could definitely see something along the lines of because Nasawa, he's one half of the GHC junior heavyweight tag champions, right?
Yes, with like, Ada from Dragon Gate. Yeah,
I can definitely see Ada and Nasawa versus Desperado and Kanemaru for the GHC tag titles, and they probably do a switch. I don't know. That's just like a random guess on my part, or like just something I think that'd be cool to see. But if there was to be any title change on that show or anything along those lines, I think that would probably be it. The GHC tag titles going to Desperado and Kanemaru.
Or it could be the IWGP Junior tag titles, because like I can see New Japan just saying, yeah, you can have them. Yeah. We don't care.
WH, who you see Muto losing to anybody on this card?
No, fuck no. No, like I think there is like something like someone speculated, oh yeah, Sonata is going to face Muto. And then someone tweeted it, like, was at a New Japan show, and they took a picture of Sonata and he looked like he was crying. And I retweeted that, and I said, oh, Sonata just found out like what the outcome is of his possible match with Muto on January 8th. He's probably like, so if that's the case, Andrew, this is probably how it went. It's like, he probably called up Muto because like Muto is his trainer, right? He was his teacher, because like when they were both in All Japan. And like Sonata could probably say, hey, like I'm his greatest student from the All Japan days. Like maybe he called up Muto and said, Muto-san, my teacher, my senpai, how about, am I going over? Are you going to put me over? And probably Noah? No. Where New Japan has to like be careful at who they put in the ring with them. Like obviously it's not going to be Muto versus Okada or Shingo Takagi or anyone like that. Like I can see it being Sonata, and if Sonata loses to Muto, no, it's no big deal. Like Sonata's not in the main event mix, so it'll be fine. And that's what I would do. That's if I'm New Japan, I'm like, okay, you can have Muto beat Sonata. It doesn't matter. It doesn't hurt Sonata necessarily because he's not in that upper mix right now, and like he can recover from it. It's Muto. Like people will like say, oh, it's great that Muto was the champion, but he's actually done damage, I feel, to Noah's main event scene by beating all these guys. And it just hurts their image. But if he beats Sonata in some interpromotional match, it doesn't really hurt, New Japan, because it's like you're not doing anything with Sonata anyways.
Yeah, Muto, he's the JC tag team champion with Murafuji right now, and I know he had made like this. It was like they had like a post match. They do the post match interviews and stuff like that. He had made this little comment, and he said it in like a jokey joke type way. But like I feel like he was so serious when he said he was like he wanted to win the national title before his next birthday. And I was,
I don't think he's joking.
Yeah, he's not joking. He's so serious.
He's and Nosawa being the biggest mark for Keiji Muto in the world is gonna make this a reality for his hero. He's gonna be like, oh, you want the national title? You should have told me a year ago. I would have given it to you then.
Yeah, he like because Kano is the current national champion, right?
Yeah.
So they doing the unification match like you just said. So I don't think he's gonna be able to get the chance to do that. But I can definitely see Muto probably winning the GHC heavyweight title at some point in 2017.
No, not if Nakajima's champion. I don't see it if Nakajima's champion, because I think Nakajima has enough stroke himself.
Okay.
where it's like Nosawa said to him, "Hey, can you put over Muda?" Like Nakajima probably was like, "No, no." Like I don't. That's why I think like you had the transition. Like Marufuji was the transition champ because like I didn't think Muda. I think Muto didn't want to lose to Nakajima. You know, so he put like Marufuji over. You know, and like then Marufuji had the match. I don't think Muto wants to be in the ring with Nakajima because he kicks so fucking hard. Like he legit probably doesn't want to face this guy. So I like, oh no, like he's too stiff. I'm fucking 60. There's no way. Right. So
but for Marufuji, like I think the obvious one with him is Kenta. Like if you're talking about like just a match that's like literally right there, like the backstory is already set. Like it's literally like right there. I would love to see them do that. I remember when Kenta, when he went back to Noah, I think it was for Marufuji's 20th anniversary show. I was surprised as hell that WWE actually let him do that. I think he lost that match, but it was like I was very surprised when WWE let him go back to Noah and have that match. And I think the match they had prior to that, I think it was like in 06 or something like that. I had just saw a clip online and Marufuji he had went for a moonsault to the outside. It was this nasty bump, man. His face clipped the guardrail, and then he kicked Kenta in the face, and then he busted him up. I was like, oh my goodness, that elite time in pro wrestling right there.
Well, that's there's like so much legit bad blood apparently between them.
Really?
Because of the way Kenta joined New Japan. He showed up like, so the anniversary show happened first and I was at that show. And then he shows up at the G1, right? Like for New Japan. And I was at that show too. And it's like, whoa, it's the anniversary of Misawa's death and Noah's holding a memorial show that day. And like a lot of people were making a big deal about, oh, this is disrespectful to Misawa and to Noah itself. I don't believe that personally because like that Noah at that point was far gone removed from Misawa's Noah. Like Misawa's Noah died basically with him, and like the Noah that exists today is not the same entity as the Noah of like the early 2000s of like the Misawa era pro wrestling Noah. So I personally don't believe that, but I'm sure there's people like, on the roster who feel that way. But like for fans to say that, especially Western fans to go on about that, it's like you need to like just like really face the facts that Ladette Noah is not the same as Misawa Noah, and certainly Cyber Agent Noah is not the same as Misawa Noah. They're almost completely different companies at this point right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's an interesting little tidbit because I never heard that there was like some legitimate issues right there between Kenta and if there is, but I think that's an interesting little tidbit to throw in there. Like I
think they were kind of hoping that he would come back to them.
Oh, of course. Why wouldn't they?
But like the thing is, at the time, like they couldn't afford him. Right, New Japan could afford him, and but like now they're owned by Cyber Agent, who seem to have like pretty significant budget work behind Noah. Like if Kenna's like I'm not doing anything back here. If he ever decide to go back, I don't like in ring, it's not going to be as good, but like in terms of like buzz and image, I think it'd be good for him, and I think it'd be good for Noah if he ever went back to pro wrestling Noah.
You think they're gonna try to do some type of like in-ring angle where he's trying to like debate of whether he should go back to Noah, like New Japan, or like because I mean the tease is obviously right there. Like I think that's something like fun that they could play around with just to mess with the fans a little bit. I think that'd be cool. It's so obvious that you like should lean into it, but I guess that remains to be seen.
Well, I mean, we have to also keep in mind like is this the first of the first show of a program of a series of shows between the two companies? Like that's I think the speculation about what's going to be happening on the January 8th show, like what matches we're going to get is coupled with like, okay, like what does this really mean for like for either company going into 2022?
And you want to know who I would really like to see back in Noah is Mikey Nichols and Shane Hayes. I think that'd be cool to have them back and have them go against so some team in New Japan. I think that'd be a cool little thing right there. Maybe not on this show, this this Noah versus New Japan show, but I say, but Mikey Nichols is still with New Japan, I believe. So I think that'd be, I think that's another cool thing, like sort of along the lines of Kenta, like having that sort of profound history with pro wrestling know about being with New Japan. It's something that's so obvious, like it's so obvious, like you would have to lean into it at some point.
You could do a whole thing where, like, if Shane Hayes, like he was cut, right? Recently, that if he joins Mikey Nichols in New Japan and they reform TMDK, that I think like Jonah Rock has been basically signed up with New Japan, right, at this point.
Yep.
So if they create a faction within New Japan, which I think is very likely, and then if I think Kenta should leave the Bullet Club. Quite honestly, I don't think.
Bro, the Bullet Club is done.
I mean, they've been done for 5 fucking years. Let's be honest, okay? Like Andrew, did you listen to like John Way's recent talk show where John's talking about like someone on his street has a Bullet Club T-shirt like every time he sees them. Like he even has like fucking like 2019 Bullet Club T-shirts. I'm like, why would you own a fucking Bullet Club T-shirt? Past the, I have an original Bullet Club T-shirt. You know what I did with that thing? I threw it in the trash when I came back from Japan. It's like, what? Okay, I got to get rid of stuff. Oh, Bullet Club. Yeah, trash. I'm getting rid of this. I hate the fucking Bullet Club.
Bullet Club is like, but it's played out now. I mean, and
it is.
And I don't want to discredit those dudes because I'm pretty sure they internally feel like the Bullet Club is back to what it was pre, the Bucks coming in and stuff like pre before it blowing up into the US and becoming this whole other thing. But like I feel like they feel that Bullet Club is at its roots now, and like Bullet Club, it's not the same, bro. It's
the only way you could revive Bullet Club is if like Tony Khan bought the rights or licensed the rights from New Japan and said, we want to bring Bullet Club here, but we'll give you a cut of the T-shirt sales. Like if I was New Japan, I'm like, yeah, we don't want to do this idea anymore. We want to create fresh idea, but we still want fucking that T-shirt money. Okay, you can have it. You can we'll license it to you.
Hey, WH, have you seen this like House of Torture stuff that even
no, God, no, because the thought of what they've done with Show is torture enough.
Bro, he does not fit. He does not fit in that whole thing. Like him, like trying to act all dark and mysterious and shit. I'm like, what is this?
I feel so much sympathy for Karen Peterson. Karen is like one of the biggest Show fans out there, and I could feel her fucking pain when I hear about what's happening with him in this Best of the Super Juniors. I asked her, like, is there anything I should watch? And she's like, yeah, the Show match was good until it wasn't. And I'm like, that's all you need to tell me. All right. Thanks, Karen. So this House of Torture is an aptly named unit because it's torture watching this. Fucking Yujiro 2021. Come on. Evil? Terrible. Terrible. Anyways.
And shout out to Karen, man. She does great work with the Stardom reports. She does great work. Shout out to her.
I'm excited to get to read the report she's going to do for this November 27th show. And I'm definitely, maybe we can do a big preview show for the December 29th show. Maybe we try to work that out in the schedule. I can't promise anything, folks, but maybe we're going to try to get Karen on to do a big preview or do a big review of the show. One or the other. We'll see what we can work out for the schedule for that. But I don't know. So let me ask you, Andrew, what are your top 3 dream matches? And we'll say dream singles matches that you would like to see between Pro Wrestling Noah and New Japan Pro Wrestling.
I think the obvious one probably is the, IWGP World Heavyweight Champion versus the GHC Heavyweight Champion. I think that'd be cool to see Shingo Takagi versus Nakajima. I think that's a obvious one right there. I think another one probably that I want to see is probably Ibushi versus Kitamaya. I think that'd be something cool. And the one I mentioned earlier, well, we'll go Shiozaki versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. I saw that hit on it earlier. the reason I kind of want to see that more so is because, like I said, with Go coming off that shoulder surgery, I'm very curious to see how that match would turn out, because I feel like that's one where I would have like low expectations for it, and then it ends up turning out better than what I think it would. So I'm just very curious to see how those two would sort of mesh in the ring. I'm not really big on seeing any any Muto matches. I'm just not in it.
It's just going to be a 7-minute match against Sonata. Shining Wizard done. There you go. Let's move. And he's not doing a moonsault ever again.
Him and Sonata going for they could trade off on the moonsault.
Listen, like Muto's doctor said, listen, do you want to walk? Don't do the moonsault again. He told him, like, he regretted doing the last one he did. So I think maybe legit he's not going to try. He's a wrestler. Who knows? But like, probably, I have to ask you.
No, I was just going to add probably Ishii versus what's that big dude, man? I think his last name is Inamura. And he just came back. Like he
Yoshiki Inamura, yeah.
Dude, I think he had he tore something in his foot or something like that. It was a nasty injury, but he just came back. Him versus Ishii would be mean. That would be nice.
That's something you could do. I think would be fun, and Ishii can go over that. Like it doesn't hurt Inamura if he would lose that match, especially if they have like a good 10 to 15 minute showing and Inamura gets a lot in there. But I had to ask you, so just to clarify, so you're assuming that Shingo Takagi is coming out of both nights of Wrestle Kingdom at the Tokyo Dome as the IWGP champion.
Because night 2 is winner faces Ospreay. Okada has night 1. You want to know what? I think so. I can confidently say that I think so. Because Ospreay,
listen, Ospreay's not winning the fucking title again. I think Ospreay is I personally feel Ospreay is probably, fulfilling the remnants of his contract, and he's going to move on.
Because I know Jericho has openly said that he wants Ospreay in AEW, and I can kind of see that happening. Him making the jump over there. But now that you say that, it doesn't feel like that, but I can definitely see something like that happening, because more so he's just over on NJPW Strong as the de facto world heavyweight champion, running around with the title and stuff like that. And
I think that's just something. Okay, he's still under contract. He doesn't want to come back to Japan right now. Okay, we'll just let him work in the United States, and he's contractually obligated to us, so he's going to work our NJPW shows, and he can do whatever else he wants, freelance wise, do the Rev Pro shows and stuff like that. I do think he did screw up their plans, right? So for the summer Tokyo Dome show, I don't think that's something they're going to forgive or forget easily. And I'm not blaming him, because if legit he had mental health issue problems about being in Japan during the pandemic. Okay, they should have given him, and if he had injuries, but at the same time, I don't feel like he wants to be there anymore. I just think, and I don't think they want him anymore. That's just my gut feeling. And I think 2022 is going to be really interesting to see where he goes. If it's still New Japan, okay, that'll be interesting. But if it's to AEW, or hey, even to WWE, they're going to need to hire some people even after they fight, because they're just firing people left, right, and center. But they are gonna have to if people could become available, if they're on the level of Ospreay, they would be insane not to take them for a 3-year contract. You know what I mean?
The thing about with WWE, and I not to go too much into that, but it's I don't see why any wrestler at this point would even want to entertain the idea of going there, because it's you sign a 3-year deal. Sign a 4-year deal, they could release you within 1 year, and then that's it. You'd
have to sign a no-cut contract.
Yeah, no-cut contract. Yeah, exactly. I think that's exactly what you had to do, or try to negotiate that into your deal. It's there's no stability in a WWE contract from a length or long term.
But you know why? You know why anyone would sign with WWE? Because they're a mark. But no, this is the thing, though. I firmly believe the biggest marks in wrestling are not the fans, it's the wrestlers. They're the biggest marks in the business. You know, they like to make fun of fans, call them marks and stuff like that. Yeah, listen, if you're a wrestler and you use that term derogatively towards fans, I'm here to tell you, you're the biggest fucking marks in the business. Okay. Like, I don't care if you're wrestling for a fucking hot dog and a handshake on an indie show to like working for AW or WB. If you like disrespect the fans that much, you think they're marks? No, you're the mark, especially now in this day and age. If under the presidency of fucking Nick Khan, if you sign with WB, and you're totally right about this, Andrew. Like you and I can say this because we're not marks, right? We're not in the wrestling business that way. But if you're a wrestler, a prospective wrestler, you're like, yeah, I'm going to sign that contract with WB. I'm going to headline WrestleMania, dude. You're going to be lucky if you fucking make it to fucking Survivor Series, like, you know, the fucking kickoff show, okay, yeah, in a year's time.
Bro, because they do this so much. We've seen it over the past year, dating back to post-Mania last year. Like they do these mass cuts, and I'm pretty sure it's probably not gonna be the last time they do mass cuts, unfortunately. Nope. And it's like I think John had a great, not to divert too much on the topic, but like I think John had a great piece out about like sort of the free agent market becoming like oversaturated at some point, and it maybe not being enough out there to, you know, supply to all of these different wrestlers, all these wrestlers that maybe have high expectations as far as you know, pay and stuff like that, or not pay necessarily, but maybe their rates and stuff like that as far as you know, the independent scene goes. And it's gonna be it's a lot of people, and then you got that on top of the Ring of Honor people becoming free agents. Like the free agent market is becoming it's stacked, and I think that's a very, very positive thing. But I think the John's piece that he wrote, I think it looked at it from like sort of like a realistic standpoint of like how like can the independent scene right now support all of these different talents that's going to be hitting at once? Because like you got the 90, some of them got the 90-day non-competes, and you know, like all probably going to be up in January, you know, so early January, early February. So I think it's going to be a real interesting time, man. I think it's going to be a lot of conversations to be held. But like going back to Will Ospreay, like, you know, now that you kind of got me thinking about it, I think that's a real solid point about him probably, you know, wrapping up with New Japan at some point. I mean, I could see it happening. Like, you know how, you know, Ospreay said in interviews and stuff like that, you know how wrestlers say, like, you know, when they get somewhere, you know, I'm going to be here for life, you know, I ain't going nowhere. And then, you know, shit happens and then it changes, you know, so.
Listen, I think him and Jay White are probably fucking done with the company.
Oh, what's the name? Juice Robinson on his way out.
Wow, who cares? Juice Robinson. No one cares about fucking Juice Robinson.
Hey, what do you think of? Because what do you think about this? Since we kind of talk about New Japan, like yeah, of course, Juice Robinson, he confirmed that his contract, he's gonna be a free agent in February. And he's like just from like how he's talking about it, I don't think he's resigning. And you know, he has heavily hinted at, you know, Impact Wrestling and, you know, liking the American television style of wrestling and stuff like that. Like WH, how would you sort of sum up Juice Robinson's run in New Japan? Do you think he did all he can do? You think he peaked with the IWGP US Heavyweight title run?
Yeah, he peaked with like a certain point where he wasn't looking like a fucking idiot every batch when he's like doing the fucking Paul Revere gimmick thing with that fucking title. I was just like, okay, you are a fucking clown and you wrestle like a clown now. Like at first, before that, okay, like there's something with Juice here, but you know, like, but then he just became a clown. Like he just thought, I can wear whatever I want. I'll still be over. No, you know, like at some point you hit a plateau with like a semi-comedy gimmick. And that's what he was. He was a semi-comedy wrestler. And then you just like the whole Pulp Fiction thing, like, or Blues Brother thing, like the last thing he did, really, like, I don't know. I think for him and Finlay, like,
oh yeah, Finlay too.
They should ply their trade in Impact and try to do as many like indie dates that they can. Like if I'm like indie promoters out there, like I look at like, you know, Finlay and Robinson, I like, okay, they're pretty solid tag team. Like they're good work. They're, you know, like I think Finlay's an awesome worker. he's a great boon to anyone out there who wants to like become better as an independent wrestler. Like, okay, oh, can I get a match with Dave Finlay? Because like he's fucking awesome as a worker, right? Like Finlay has the in with his dad, right? Like he could go to NXT.
He definitely could. He definitely
like, and I can see him bringing Juice with him. You know what I mean? Like as a tag team, but like who knows what the vision of NXT 2.0 is? It's just like I stopped caring now. You know what I mean? Like I hear all these names. Like what the fuck is a waste? What is the fucking name? Grayson Waller? What is that? What is with these fucking names, by the way? Like ridiculous. Anyways, we're getting off topic here. I don't want to talk about fucking NXT 2.0, you know, but with Ospreay, I do think he's out. I think Jay White, I'm not a huge Jay White fan. I think Switchblade's a terrible New Japan gimmick, but Switchblade it could be amazing American. No, fuck no. I hate fucking Jay White, dude. You not listen to my shows for the last 2 years. I hate Jay White. I think his shtick in the Japanese wrestling setting is terrible, but in an American television setting, he could be awesome. I think like there's a lot of potential that he has for any company that wants to sign him, and also like himself, like to reach his true potential as a top person in wrestling as an American television wrestler.
I think people here in the States like have been like sort of clamoring for Jay White to make the move over from Japan. Like, I mean, when you really think about it, bro, I think he's done everything that he can do in New Japan. You know, he won the IWGP Heavyweight and the Continental US Heavyweight title. Like, the dude has literally done everything that there is to do. You know, headline the Tokyo Dome. You know, like it just feels like it would be like sort of that natural transition. Like, I even remember back in January, you remember it was all that speculation about like would he show up in the Royal Rumble and stuff like that. And because he had he was like, you know, it was just he was trying to figure out what he wanted to do. I think that was like a legit decision he had to make as far as like, you know, was he not necessarily WWE, but was he going to stay with New Japan on that? And, you know, he obviously made a decision to end up staying. So, and he's working primarily on I think he's doing some of the strong shows now.
I don't think he wants to go back. I don't think he wants to go back during this.
Yeah.
During the, you know, whatever point in the pandemic we're at right now, who knows? Like, you know, we're going to be, you know, in 2022 as far as travel goes, and like what Japan's going to be like. He has to, you know, all these guys, they have to do COVID tests before they get on the plane. They have to, you know, they got to quarantine for, you know, and people think, oh, it's lessened if you have a work visa. You still got to quarantine. It's not, there's like a lot of hidden things that, from what I understand, that it's not just like as cut and dry as like, oh, it's not 10 days anymore, it's 3 days. There's something, and there's like other things involved that, you know, like that makes traveling there not necessarily fun, especially if you're going back and forth between America or wherever and Japan, like especially if you're going into Japan. So like I can see with Jay White, Will Ospreay, you know, like, you know, Juice and Finlay, like listen, like if I'm Tony, like honestly, if I'm Tony Khan, like why you're signing Jay White, I have no fucking clue. Like not when like there's Jonathan Gresham out there, you know what I mean? Like if you're gonna Jay White, big deal. Like no, I'm not excited about that. But if you were to bring like White, Finlay, and Juice as a unit, you know, because they all have the legit dojo background together as in the same generation, that would be interesting. I really think we're going to see a point in AEW where you're going to see all these people who joined the first year, who are the initial signings, not get their contracts renewed.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Like
why would you keep some of these people? Like you're not doing anything with them, so make room.
I 100% agree with that. I think that's going to be the case that we're going to be seeing coming up in 2022. I think there's a lot of contract years coming up next year, so I definitely think that's going to be one of the case, like one of the things that's going to be really interesting. Like, but I don't think we'll see something along the lines, you know, with Tony Khan's going to be out here releasing folks. I think he's just going, you know, just let their contracts expire. Like, you know, I'm pretty sure that we could look at the roster page and, you know, think about some names and stuff like that. But, you know, I don't want to think about nobody losing their job or nothing like that. But I don't think that Tony is going to be like releasing folks and stuff like that. You know, that shit WWE does, or trying to embarrass somebody or some shit like that. So, but with Philly, like something kind of interesting is like the first time that I heard of, Finlay sort of debating about, whether he was going to, stay with New Japan or not was when his father was on a podcast one time, and he was just like, it was a situation where the talents had like arrived at the airport to leave Japan, and most of them had tested positive for the virus, and then him and Jay White, Finlay and Jay White had to quarantine in Japan because of that, and then Fit had said that David was just real confused at that point, and this was back in like May, so like then he said like Fit was just very, very confused like about what he should do next, and that was even back then. And I know I think that was they were still doing the Impact stuff at the time. Finjuice was still doing the Impact stuff, so like now I think that they've had time to sort of sit on everything and primarily being featured in Impact. And when was the last time Juice was in Japan? What was that like? Was that New Japan Cup time? Something along those lines.
Sure.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
But yeah, man, I can definitely see those talents that you just listed sort of stepping away from Japan. Maybe not on a full time. They maybe just keeping the situation that it is. Right now they just working the New Japan Strong shows and just having a agreement type thing.
Yeah, I really think post pandemic, the future of like working in Japan if you're a foreigner is completely different going forward. And so like you really, really have to have a passion, and you really have to have a really good deal with either and let's be honest, like New Japan is the only one bringing in foreigners. Noah does not employ any foreigners right now. Neither does All Japan. Neither does, I think maybe Dragon Gate might have some foreigners who live in Japan working for them. I think some Lucha guys do some stuff for Dragon Gate right now. Or if you're already in Japan and you're willing to stay in Japan, then, working indies is fine. But if you're like, for example, like if you're, people who live in the United States and, it's okay, COVID test, get on the plane, COVID test when you land, quarantine for a certain amount of time, then same thing going back. I've never had a COVID test. I don't want to get one, Andrew. You know what I mean? It does not sound fun.
It is quite the experience.
Can you imagine having to do that every time you have to get on a plane to go to work? And like the option is made available to you to not have to do that, to just, work domestically to wherever country you're living in. I can see the appeal, and I don't know that this is going to get better in the next year or two. Who knows? But for me, to just get back onto the topic of this joint show, like for me, like I would love my dream match would be actually Kazuchika Okada versus Katsuhiko Nakajima, because I don't think we've ever seen that, and we certainly have never seen the current incarnations of these two wrestlers face off. Like Shingo Takagi and Nakajima has happened before, and I've seen it. And I would love to see it again, because like Shingo now and Nakajima now would be amazing. So that happens, I'm more than happy with it. But I would love to see Okada versus Nakajima. Champion versus champion without the championships on the line. Obviously, that's not going to happen. Right. But the other match that for Okada that would be just as interesting for me would be against Kaito Kiyomiya, who really kind of started off this whole idea of Noah versus New Japan, because he had challenged kind of Okada, back in May of 2020. So it's really interesting, like if that match happens, because like Kiyomiya has been very much compared to Okada as Noah's version of Okada, and like I think if they wrestle each other, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that Kiyomiya would lose that match, but Okada would probably give him a lot in that loss and make him look like a bigger star. But I think if you have Nakajima versus Okada, that's more of an even footing. So like I think that's a far more intriguing match in that sense. For Tanahashi, I you know what, I didn't really give this much thought till you said it. Till you said Shiozaki. That's like that would be amazing. And like who knows, maybe that's something that Noah has in their back pocket for like spike business is the return of Go Shiozaki. And if it happens at this show, like I can't think of a better way to have his return match. Yeah, for sure. Anything like also like, sorry, I'm just trying to think like who else is like your Inamura versus Ishii match. It sounds good to me as well. But like I Marufuji for me, people are like Ospreay kind of went out and said, I want a match with Marufuji. I don't know. Like, I don't know how good that would be, to be honest with you. But like, I think Marufuji, like, and Kenta has the natural thing. And Kenta tweeted out like a picture of him with when he was GHC champion and said soon, or right, something along those lines. So like, he's obviously wanting to be part of this. And like, it would generate so much heat. And I think really also you have to keep in mind, like the decision to have it in Yokohama, I think there is something to that in the sense, like, it is kind of like neutral ground, where they're both, you have big fan bases in Tokyo, but I do think like having it outside of Tokyo is really, I think it's more beneficial to Noah to have it outside of Tokyo. And I think maybe that might've been part of their negotiation to New Japan. It's like, well, we don't want to have it because Tokyo Dome is their building, right? It's New Japan's building. Whereas like Yokohama Budokan is, I would say it's more Noah's building these days. Cause like they've really established a really good relationship with the fan base in Yokohama and in that particular building these days. Them in Stardom, I think. So
you want to know another match I think would be, I think a lot of people would be interested in? Saying probably like something like, I just had it on my brain, like Hayata versus Taiji Shimori. I think that'd be cool. See them. Yeah,
I guess I don't know. I mean, I hate like these guys who are in the Rattel, like Hayata, Yohei, Tadasuke. Like, I don't care what they do. Like, you just have a big like 6-man or 8-man tag with like a bunch of these dudes against each other, and then that's fine. And just have like a 15-minute like sprint,
I was going to ask you, like, do you think there's going to be a lot of filler in this card, like early on? You think there's going to be like we probably see something like Nagata and like Kosei Fujita versus like Tanaka and whoever or some shit like that? You think it's going to be like that type of stuff on the card early on?
I can see them bringing back Jun Akiyama for this into Noah for just at least these, even though he's considered more of a DDT wrestler. Like, I can see like, okay, it's Akiyama and like some like New Japan, Noah, young boys against Nagata, because like there's that history between Akiyama and Nagata, and Akiyama really with any of the third generation guys. I do think there's going to be filler. I think it's probably going to be like scheduled to be like a 4-5 hour show. I think there's going to be like, I think if you don't have at least 3 like top line matches, especially like top line singles matches, like you're kind of like screwing the pooch, kind of, you know what I mean? Like especially if this is going to be the first of many, then you need to like give the fans what they want. They want to see singles matches. Then don't screw them out of that. And then, if you can have, and then you have a series of these things over the course of the next year or so, then you have the filler stuff, right? And in smaller venues, and then you build towards maybe next year's Tokyo Dome or something like that. Who knows? But it's interesting. Like, I do think like, New Japan is probably also in negotiations to do stuff with All Japan, because they're both going to be celebrating their 50th anniversary this coming year. So that's a natural tie-in. And I think, they can have a much stronger position of power over All Japan these days. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. I do think we're going to see something from that. But yeah, I really am curious to see what the outcome of January 8th is, what we're going to see happen on January 9th or 10th, like as far as a press conference or announcements go.
Yeah, I definitely think they got some stuff to pull out the bag for this show. They're probably going to have a couple of surprises, like as far as match turnouts and stuff. I don't think they would come together with this show without having some like. And you made like a good point earlier. Like it's no way that this show just came together like on a whim and like this is like some last month type stuff. Like it's no way. Like I think that this has probably been in the works for a while. And like as far as the match turnouts, I pay to be a fly on the wall to hear how some of these like things get discussed and debated. Because I'm pretty sure both sides got their their own stuff they want to protect, and it's probably some things where they're like, okay, that's cool, but yeah, I definitely think it's gonna be something interesting to see, man. And I think a lot of people are gonna be tuned in. I think a lot of people are more invested in this than the actual like Tokyo Dome shows as of this moment, just because of the pure curiosity of it all.
Oh, definitely. This is gonna happen on Abema TV. It's going to be a pay-per-view on Abema TV, and it's not going to be shown on either New Japan World or on Wrestle Universe until a week after January 8th. So, but I've been told that like each platform will have their own English commentary. So like, Kevin Kelly and Chris Charlton are probably going to do the English commentary for New Japan World. And then Stuart Fulton and Mark Pickering are going to be the commentators for the Wrestle Universe broadcast of this particular show. So it'll be interesting if you want to rewatch it, like maybe on, like you'll watch the New Japan World version of it, and then you watch the Wrestle Universe to see what the differences are, if the camera angles are different, but definitely like what the commentary is like for this. I think it is going to have English commentary from it is a New Japan show, so it's probably going to be Kevin Kelly and Chris Charlton, and maybe a third person with them on like the live feed of this on Abema TV. Who knows? But I do believe there's definitely going to be English commentary for this, and probably from the New Japan side. So keep that in mind. And just so kind of final word about the broadcast is that I am slated to watch this sometime on January 8th Eastern time at Mr. John Pollock's house.
Hey.
with Mr. Wei Ting, and we're gonna do a review show live from post wrestling, the post wrestling base in Toronto.
There you go. Look at that breaking news on the podcast, man. Look at that. Y'all should go do video.
Oh, we'll probably put it up on the YouTube, and people can have to sign up for the you have to sign up for the cafe, right?
Yeah.
For that. So that's not going to be free. You're not going to see me free on the YouTube live for free. You have to sign up for the Post Wrestling Cafe. See what I did there, Andrew? I'm always trying to hustle for these guys.
You big time in the postmarks, man.
That's right. And by the way, speaking of hustling, go get the Post Puroresu t-shirt. Go get the Long and Winding Road t-shirt. Go get the, Bushby and Thompson t-shirt over at postwrestling.com, at store.postwrestling.com, because it's fucking Black Friday sale, 20% off this whole weekend, okay, until the end of Sunday here in Toronto.
Look at that.
Or is it Monday? Is it Monday?
Look at that. You're a pure professional, man. Look at that.
Oh man, there's no accident that Wei Ting picks me to be his regular fucking, podcasting partner for these MCU shows. You know what I'm saying? By the way, I gotta take care of some business. I do gotta shout out to Natalie Cookney. Thank you for ordering the Post Puroresu t-shirt, as long as the Pollock Offset Sync t-shirt. Thank you so much for your patronage. And if you Instagram that, please tag us so I can see if you're wearing the shirts and you're proud to wear them. If you're on Instagram, put on Instagram, put on Twitter. Let us see those shirts. Show everybody how great they look on you, and if you want to put them on your dog, show how great they look on your dog as well.
I do have one of those shirts. I think I sent you it. I do have one of those.
Listen, I wore your t-shirt, you and Martin's t-shirt at work one time, and someone asked me, "Oh, what's that?" I go, "It's a podcast about wrestling." And they're going, "Oh, people podcast about wrestling?" I go, "Yeah." Well, I'm going to give it a listen. Okay.
Look at that.
So I don't know if they ever listened, because I never saw them again, but I was wearing the t-shirt and they said, "I'm going to listen to that." Okay. Thank you. They like the artwork. So,
we're bringing in the listens, man, the viewers, the people. I appreciate it. WH. That's love right there.
Hey man, we're all part of the same team/family. We're more legit family than anything in the Fast and the Furious franchise. Okay.
Hey, do you think that, New Japan Strong is way more interesting than what's going on in the home base, New Japan?
Well, yeah, because there's no fucking House of Torture in New Japan Strong. and guess who's not booking New Japan Strong? Ghetto or Dick Togo. So yes, it's way more. I like it because I think they have a strong base. core wrestlers from the LA dojo. And then they bring in a lot of really like kind of exclusive, like indie talent that like primarily works for them on a national basis. Right. So it's kind of like, I think, they've been a way more interesting product and promotion than the now defunct, Ring of Honor. Well, people say, hey, they're coming back to VH. I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn if you believe that's happening. All right. Like Final Battle. They should just title, what they should title this Final Battle show coming up, Andrew? Final Battle.
Jeez. Bro, but you want to know what with New Japan? I Rocky had actually had mentioned this, and I think if Rocky can make it happen, I think it'll be a massive get for New Japan Strong and New Japan the main program as well. He wants to get Shane Strickland in New Japan Strong. I think that I'm not even getting all that, but like I don't know what the fuck WWE was thinking when they let that dude go. But he's going to be able to do his own thing now. But I would love to see him in Strong. But I very, very, very much believe that AEW is probably going to try to make a play for that dude. So I don't know how long he's going to be on the field.
I think they should bring, like, even though like the other guys are green, like just bring them all.
You talking about the whole hero?
Yeah, bring them all in, because I think you have an opportunity to make stars. Like pick up the what's the phrase? What's the phrase I want to use? Like like make some lemonade from these lemons that these guys got.
WWE, like they barely squeezed.
Yeah, no, like there's like you had a potential to have like the next Shield Wyatt family with this group, or next Undisputed Era. You know what I mean?
But they had potential to create a hit. See, it's very rare in professional wrestling when you can have a hip hop group that's not like some corny ass shit, and it's not like some white dude like rapping to the ring with his hat backwards and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't. Like,
Are you talking about Grandmaster Sexay?
Like that. Oh, don't do that, bro. He passed away. Don't do that. I don't do that. But
what did I say? I don't do what? I
thought you. But besides that, like it's always like some corny ass like white dude like with his hat backwards and like saying like yo some shit.
Listen, like there's no one I can't mention that's not dead. You know what I mean? That kind of gimmick that you're talking about these days. So, here's the thing, like I think. Again, we're veering off topic, but this is why I like having you on. We can talk about a lot of things, and it still relates to Japanese wrestling. But just quickly, like I'm Tony Khan. I hire all those guys because you know what AEW is missing, Andrew. They're missing a significant African American contingent of talent on their shows. So, and I think having all of Hit Row come in there would help alleviate that problem that they have. But yeah, I think Shane Strickland is a no-brainer. Like Keith Lee as a name is a no-brainer as well.
Oh, well, no question, man. Keith Lee, that's like the most obvious one to me. Like I put him and Strickland like neck and neck, but like Keith Lee just like just ever so slightly. But I feel like Keith Lee is like the most obvious get, man. Like again, WWE, like I don't know what the
just don't have like Kenny Omega trying to hit him with something, and then he grabs his hand and says, "I am limitless."
You talked about that, bro. That shit was ridiculous. Pandemic eras, one of the finest moments from the pandemic era wrestling, man. One of the finest.
Was
moments.
My tweet?
Hilarious, bro. But So one thing I kind of wanted to talk to you about, we had briefly touched on it before we started recording. I want to get your thoughts on it. Was Zeus, his contract with All Japan is expiring on December 31st, and then on the following day he'll be beginning his duties as president of Osaka Pro Wrestling. The last time they ran a show was in July, and before that was February 2020. Zeus is trying to revive this promotion and make it a weekly type thing. He told Tokyo Sports that he wants to run shows at Universal Studios Japan around noontime, and he wants to make it like a family show and all that type of stuff. I'm just curious about your thoughts about, Zeus making a decision to leave All Japan Pro Wrestling and try to, start his own thing.
I think it's very telling that he saw something, like kind of in terms of like how he was going to be used in the future to make this decision. I don't think running your own wrestling promotion in right now is necessarily a good idea. Universal Studios Japan. Okay. I think that's just ambitious, and that's probably a goal he's setting for himself. Is that going to happen right away? I don't think so. I used to go to back in 2000, my first time living in Japan, I used to go to Osaka Pro shows because I lived in Osaka at that time. Mm-hmm. And it was, it's kind of like a variety show. And it was very heavily lucha based because it was run by a guy named Super Delphin, who was, originally in Michinoku Pro with the great Sasuke. And then they had a falling out and he took a bunch of, Michinoku Pro guys to form Osaka Pro. And it was a lot of serious wrestling in there, but also a lot of characters, a lot of kind of kids characters, monster characters and things like that. And they had a lot of really talented wrestlers in there. Whether Zeus can recapture that, I don't know what the talent pool is in the Kansai area, which is the prefecture and area surrounding Osaka. Includes Kobe, it includes Kyoto and places like Nara as well, to draw from and to kind of build a roster. Because I think more than anything else, you need to build a roster of regulars and develop a roster that fans are going to want to pay money to see in enclosed space during a pandemic still. And you can't really charge that much money, I think, as a start. He's basically adopting an established brand, but an established brand that had kind of kind of withered over the last 20 years or so, So we'll see. I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting from a point of view of what did he see or didn't see for himself in All Japan anymore that he thought, I'm going to do my own thing? Does he have a plan beyond just saying a lot of shit that a lot of wrestlers say when they start their own ventures? No, I'm not saying that derogatorily, pejoratively. I'm just saying that as most wrestlers are carnies, especially if they're the promoter, they get into carny mode. And it's that's just being a carny, which is fine. That's every other wrestling promoter out there. But it'll be interesting to see if there is any traction to Osaka Pro. And yeah, I think there's a lot to Zeus. I think he's a waste of talent in All Japan. And he could have been doing a lot more in the company. So hey, you know what? If he can do something with Osaka Pro, more power to him.
You think there's a possibility of Osaka Pro being a feeder system for All Japan?
I could be part of it. He could maybe just I'm tired of living in Tokyo. I grew up in Osaka, so I'm going to want to go back to Osaka. That's entirely possible as well. Or if he still lives in Osaka and then he just travels back and forth on the bullet train, maybe he just got tired of that. Who knows? Again, we'll find. I think things stories like that, Andrew, we find out maybe 2-3 years from now. You know what I mean? What the real story is. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, his sort of thinking behind it. He was he said he's aiming for the family. He was many people from All Japan, they love professional wrestling, and the fans of New Japan are young people, and the women, they love Dragon Gate and DDT. And he was Osaka Pro, they trying to market towards family and kindergarten children and junior high school and all that type of stuff.
Dude, when I used to go to the Osaka Pro shows that were at this place called, it was called Delphin Arena. It's not an arena. It was just named after, Super Delphin, the promoter at the time. And this place called Festival Gate in a part of Osaka called Shin Imamiya. And let me tell you something about Shin Imamiya. That place is sketchy as fuck. All right. WH, we got to catch our last train to get out of Shin Imamiya to go to a better part of Osaka. Oh, shit. I don't want to miss that train. Because, one, I don't want to take a cab because it's expensive. Two, I don't want to walk anywhere in Shin Imamiya because it's sketchy as fuck. So there you go.
Hey, sort of another topic, sort of going back to DDT, we had talked about it earlier. What do you think about Sanshiro Takagi saying that he wants to establish DDT USA or DDT World, in the States? You do, just from here, I'm curious to see how much of a fan base there is that's invested in DDT enough to want to buy a ticket to go see a show here.
Well, I think I tweeted out something with that, like retweeted that announcement. It was like, well, he's a little too late because it already exists. It's called AEW. Yeah, AEW is DDT USA. It's the American version of DDT. People might say, oh, it's the American version of New Japan. No, it's not. It's the American version of DDT. Okay, if you compare like up and down the show, what do they most resemble? AEW most resembles DDT because that's what, Ken Chan wanted to turn New Japan into a DDT promotion and didn't happen. So now, he gets to do that. He's trying to do that with AEW. And for the most part, like a lot of the roster, a lot of the card looks like a DDT show. There's like your serious wrestlers and then you have your comedy wrestlers and then you have like kind of in between, just like DDT, So yeah, I think Takagi trying to break into the American market right now. No, dude, like maybe try 2023, see what the world is like, see what the American wrestling landscape is like. Cause like, WD has really like, first they're hoarding all this talent and then they release all this talent and it fucked like the world scene. It fucked the UK scene.
Yes.
It fucked Japan to some, not so much Japan. They tried to fuck Japan, but like Japan's too strong and Lucha Mexico was too strong. Like that, but it fucked the United Kingdom scene and it fucked the US and it fucked the US indie scene. But now they're like just release all these people and it's kind of fucking the scene now because like there's no places for people to go. So like what I think, to a point you made earlier about like all these talents, like, and John's article about, the market is completely different now. Yeah. Is because WB ruined the market and like the pandemic that didn't help either. So I think you're going to see a lot of people like give up being full-time wrestlers, get, like 9-to-5 jobs and become weekend wrestlers for the most part.
That's something interesting to think about. But like, yeah, most of going back to like the DDT thing, like I'm like I mentioned, I'm just very curious. So like I see people tweeting about DDT on my timeline, but I'm like very curious to see like how much of an impact DDT could have to the point where people would be like, hey, I want to spend such and such on the ticket to go see this DDT show and like the venues and stuff like that. I think more so Takagi was just probably spitballing some ideas, or maybe that's a legit idea that he's legitimately trying to throw out there and probably has had conversations about. But I'm just interested to see how they would sort of map out this sort of expansion into the US. I think that'd be something to look at. But like you mentioned WWE and J Sports announced that they are no longer going to be carrying Raw SmackDown. So people in Japan don't have to sit through Raw. She's very envious of them. So that partnership is over on December 27th. It's been going on for I think over 2 decades now. They still promoting WWE Japan and the WWE the WWE shop Japan on the Instagram and all that stuff. So like all that stuff is up to date. They're still promoting that. But yeah, J Sports will no longer be carrying Raw and SmackDown anymore.
It's probably like Japanese wrestling fans, like most American wrestling fans, were like, what is this shit on my TV? I'm not watching this crap. And their fucking ratings probably plummeted. To J Sports was like, yeah, like, I mean, they're a business. If like something's not drawing ratings for them, why would you carry it? So that's probably until I'm proven wrong, that's what I'm going to go with. Like J Sports is just like, hey, the ratings suck because this product sucks and no one wants to watch it, When
was the last time you watched an episode of Raw?
Fully?
Yeah. For 3 hours.
2014?
Damn.
Like here's the thing, to be fair, I can't watch most things that are 3 hours long, Andrew. I'm certainly not watching this garbage. I will watch, I don't even watch Raw in bits and pieces anymore because I think most I'm just listening to John Way talk about it and I'm just like, that's not like, I'm glad I didn't watch that, Like SmackDown sounds like it might be a little bit better. I have no desire to watch most WWE. Like they they have lost me almost completely now because of what they did to NXT. So there was a point where it's like I could still watch NXT even with like the Shawn Michaels Drama Club, dominating the main event scene, right? Like even with all that bullshit happening in that company and that brand with that, like there's still stuff I could still enjoy. Now they've pretty much taken all that away from me as well. So it's like, hey, I'm fine with washing my hands of the McMahon family and like. Can I just tell you, I have not given Vince McMahon a single red cent in the last 15 fucking years, and I'm proud to say that. Oh, WH, how do you watch WWE then? Oh, like I trade logins with some of my friends who have WWE access. There you go. So,
there you go.
Nothing illegal about that. They get access to some of my logins. I get access to some of the logins. These logins are all paid for. There you go.
There you go. Rightful man, WH. There you go.
I believe in the trading and bartering system, Andrew. Not just gross. I'm not a huge supporter of just gross capitalism. You know what I mean?
I respect it. I respect your opinion. But so something you mentioned Kenny Omega, and I think this is a very interesting sort of conversation to be had. I don't know if you had the chance to see the article or hear the podcast, but Rocky Romero was on the Battleground podcast, and he dropped like this big piece of information like randomly in the middle of a conversation. Like I don't even think he realized what he said. He was just kind of talking, and he said that it was actually Kenny Omega who reached out to New Japan a while back to get Kenta in the AEW, and he was just like, basically the gist of the conversation was like, because Kenta and Moxley, they were doing their thing on New Japan Strong, and that was like more so of a New Japan Strong type thing. And he said Kenny reached out and it was just like, hey, I got my thing going on with Mox. It'd be cool if we can get Kenta to come over there because I know you guys are doing your thing with Kenta and Moxley. And Rocky said that was like a big step for New Japan, and he made sort of mention that New Japan felt some type of way about the way Omega left and they weren't happy about it. But he said that just sort of the internal feeling of Omega reaching out was a big step in the right direction. And I know when that started to get around, people were kind of really excited about the potential idea out there of Omega and New Japan collaborating, considering they like because Kenta was there. What was that like in February when he was in AEW or something like that? That was early this year. So if they've been in contact and Kenny helped facilitate that, I think that's what made people excited because of the time gap between when that actually happened and where we are now. So if they've been in contact this whole time, I think that's something that's going to stick with people for a while until we actually do see or if it'll ever happen to him possibly returning to Japan or something along those lines. I just think it was just an interesting tidbit of information that Rocky dropped out there.
I think the idea of Omega and New Japan working together is a lot more feasible because of the pandemic. Because New Japan isn't at its peak strength anymore financially, right? Right. I think if there was no pandemic and New Japan was like New Japan in 2020, 2021 was like New Japan of 2018 and 2019. I don't know if those overtures from Omega would have been as readily accepted per se. And also I think also Harold May not being the president of New Japan is also reason why like those conversations actually took place. I think if I'm speculating here, but my feeling is that if Harold May was still around, he would not have, like gone along with it. He would have, I think a lot of like my understanding, my speculative feeling and understanding of the AEW New Japan kind of Cold War that happened when AEW started was that, a lot of it was like, feelings of like, feelings being hurt on the New Japan management side from particularly with Harold May. And people speculate one of the reasons why like his presidency ended was because like they wanted to take the company in new directions, maybe even possibly because of like wanting to kind of open up negotiations with AEW or whatever. I don't know if that's true or not. Who knows? But like I do believe that if he was still there, like you probably wouldn't be seeing, at least not to the extent that we have seen, the relationship between New Japan and AEW kind of blossom this past year. So, take that for what you will. But I definitely, Omega wants to work. Like the thing with Omega, like I think he wants to have his cake and he wants to eat it. He wants to have his power and influence in AEW and be on American television and be a top star in America. And he's achieved that. But he also wants to, go back to the country that he became a star in. He wants to wrestle in front of the fans that I think he genuinely, loves performing in front of, and be a star on in two different cultures and in two different markets. So yeah, I can see him like just saying like, yeah, let's do it. Like I think for the most part, like I'll give him credit. I think he's a very smart business person. Like he's very savvy. I think he's proven that in his career in the last 10 years. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that if, Rocky Romero is telling people that publicly, maybe he did let it slip, who knows, but maybe it's all like, I don't know. I find it hard to believe Rocky Romero would let something that slip.
Not slip per se, but more so like, it was just like, he was talking really fast and it just like, he just hit it. So maybe I don't want to say slip, like he just like let that fall out.
I think he knew exactly what he's saying. I think Rocky's one of the sad. Like, listen, if you want to have any kind of career, like model yourself to have a career like of anyone in wrestling right now, you'd want to be like Rocky Romero. That guy's got fingers in fucking almost every pie that's not the WWE.
Yeah, he got his hands in Impact too a little bit, but not more so on the any creative thing, but like but matter of fact. Not creative, but like he's helping facilitate the New Japan talent that's coming in the Impact with Hikuleo and so some of those guys that's over there. So yeah, Rocky got his hands in everything. But yeah, with Omega, I mean, maybe it might not even have, as far as New Japan side, maybe it's not even just a thing about Omega and sort of open that door. Maybe it's just New Japan like, hey, let's do business, and let's just leave.
Listen, if they want to bolster their business in 2022, especially for like say the G1, like things open up more in Japan and they can have crowds, like bigger crowds, capacity crowds in buildings, and he's willing to do it if he's like healthy enough.
Yeah.
And Omega wants to do it. Like, yeah, if I'm New Japan, of course I say, hey, do you want to come for the G1? And do we want to build something for Wrestle Kingdom 2023? I mean, I don't want to. I don't know if I necessarily want to watch it. Like I'll keep an open mind about it. But if I'm from a business point of view, of course you want to do that. Right. Like I think you isolate it to Kenny and not necessarily bring in the Bucks, or I definitely don't bring in fucking Cody, like that's, no one wants to see him back in fucking New Japan. Like, Omega's a different story. Like, Cody, hey, let's bring Cody back to Japan. No, fuck no. Don't bring that fucking guy back to Japan ever again. I don't ever want to see his influence in that company.
Would you not want to see Matt and Nick Jackson back there?
Matt and Nick Jackson? No, I never enjoyed their work in New Japan. Like maybe they had like one or two matches that I thought were good, but they were too goofy for me. It's like, this is not strong style to me. This is just they're trying to turn the junior division into PWG, and I was like, if I want to watch PWG, I'll watch fucking PWG. I don't want to watch it on New Japan TV. I don't want to watch it in Cork and Hall, with like all these wrestlers that I enjoy watching be serious wrestlers. It's it doesn't interest me. Like I think like their style of their characters are things I have zero interest in. I don't enjoy their style of wrestling. So, no, I don't want to see them back in Japan. Like if you said, hey, Red Dragon's coming back to New Japan, fuck yeah, okay, I'm down for that. Hey, Young Bucks are coming back. Nah, I'll pass. No, I'm not interested, thanks.
Yeah, Red Dragon, that reunion might be coming sooner than we think. So that's an interesting thing right there. Because Kyle O'Reilly's contract is supposed to be expiring in December.
If I'm Kyle O'Reilly, listen, if I get offers from both AEW and New Japan, I go with honestly, like I think AEW's packed right now with WWE adjacent people. I go to New Japan. Like we're gonna, and like if he can get a spot as a heavyweight, okay. Like I think the sky's the limit for Kyle O'Reilly if he can get a position as a heavyweight, which I think they would do because he's ex-WWE, even if it's just, primarily through NXT. And I think his style of wrestling I think if he never left, he would have become a heavyweight. He would have been pushed as a heavyweight. I think he would have got Zach's spot, in the company. I think the kind of push that Zack Sabre Jr. got in the company would have been something that they would have slated for Kyle O'Reilly if he stayed and never went to NXT.
That's interesting. I never thought about that. That kind of does make sense when you really think about it. But yeah, O'Reilly, like I think the world, Kyle O'Reilly is a wrestler. Like even me and Martin, we went back and reviewed PWG Black Hole Sun, and I think he headlined that show with Ricochet, and then had a match with Roderick Strong right after. And O'Reilly is like such a complete wrestler, like just from an in-ring standpoint. So yeah, I would love to see him back in New Japan. He
also needs to divorce himself. He needs to divorce himself from Adam Cole for a while. So
you think so? Yeah,
I think like they've been too tight at the hip throughout most of their careers. Like, and it was fine in NXT. Like they played off their indie run and their ROH feud and things like that. But I think for him to like really make a name for himself, to be on par as in terms of stature with Adam Cole, he has to make his own destiny and forge his own path somewhere away from Adam Cole. And I think that's why another thing would be like, I think he should go to New Japan if that's on the tables for him.
Yeah, for sure. Just a quick note, like another guy who I would really like to see in Japan, and he's already sort of getting set up internationally. He's gonna be in the WXW 16 Karat Gold Show tournament. Is Big Music. Would love to see him Japan.
Yeah, definitely. Like, here's the thing though. Like everyone says New Japan, New Japan, New Japan. I'm hoping at some point Noah, just says, okay, we're gonna start booking foreigners again. Yeah. And like there's a plethora of talent out there that you can book, and you're not like kind of like scraping the bottom of the barrel, per se. Like you there's a lot of quality talent out there that you could bring over to fill out your cards. And it's almost like I said earlier, like it's almost like New Japan has like the kind of exclusive lockup on like using foreign talent in Japan right now. So I think it's really interesting if like, Cyber Agent as an entity wants to bring in talent to work both Noah and DDT, and even like, TJPW. Like there's a lot of, female wrestlers out there that could totally benefit from working like a tour with like any kind of like company in Japan, especially like if it's like of a stature of like Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling. So yeah, I think there's a lot to look forward to, like potentially in Japan for like American talent or UK talent or wherever you're from, if you're a foreign wrestler wanting to do some stuff in Japan.
So on something you just said about like, people primarily looking at New Japan as like sort of the destination for wrestlers who have gotten released from WWE or exiting other places. Like with Noah, they were supposed. Have you had the chance to see Ninja Mac wrestle?
I've caught like
clips,
clips of him, and like I think I've seen one quote unquote match with him. I like he flips a lot. I don't think he's is he a good wrestler? Like the kind of wrestler that I like to watch? Not really, but he gets over with the indie fans. It's fine.
Noah was supposed to bring him in. They were gonna bring him in. Like he was like legit was about to go like be with Noah on like a full-time basis. And then like the pandemic hit and like things sort of got scrapped. But he's like they from what I've heard from him, like the way he sort of worded it, it seems like him and Noah still have something in place. So it seems like it's just a matter of time. Like they're just trying to find the right spot for him to come in. But yeah, he's going to be in pro wrestling. I'm interested to see if he'll still like do the whole like Ninja Mac thing, or he'll like try to take on like a different persona. I think that'd be interesting.
I think you can. Well, I don't know. Like Ninja Mac's kind of a dumb name, to be honest with you, but like, hey, I can't think of anything better you could do if you want to become better as a wrestler than to work in a dojo, especially like the Noah dojo. Like you look at like the wrestler that Zack Sabre Jr. is today is because of his time in Noah. Like Chris Ridgway before the pandemic was like online to become a really top tier in-ring performer because of like he was like doing so much work and doing so many tours with Pro Wrestling Noah. Mm-hmm. And then, he went back to escape the pandemic being, locked down in Japan. So yeah, like if Ninja Mac is saying like he's got a relationship with Noah and the things open up, I totally like for his sake. Yeah. Great idea. Go. And like just the amount of talent that you can work, especially veteran talent that is there, that you would learn so much just being in the ring with them every day for like 2 weeks straight. Oh yeah. Like such invaluable experience to that. I think that's really the benefit of working Japan is like you get to work with veteran talent and you get to work almost every day. And then when you're not working, you're training in the dojo, like perfecting your craft. So, I mean, like, I think like someone like Jonathan Gresham will like tell you, oh yeah, my time in 01, like wrestling almost every day and training with Hidaka in the 01 dojo, like was like such a, made me the wrestler that I am today,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty much all the other stories I had on for the sidebar outside of the big
yeah. I mean, I like there's lots of tournaments going on, tag tournaments. I'm not watching them. Like I just don't like, hey, like right now, here's the thing. Like people have asked me this like privately, Andrew, like why don't you care, WH, about watching this? Like, listen, they don't care.
No, hey, you want to
talk about the promotions. The promotions don't care. Right. When they start caring about some of these cards and some of these storylines, then I'll care and I'll start watching again. But right now is just kind of like I really feel people in promotions in Japan are kind of like in this placeholder position, like that their status is like we're going to see what the early part of 2022 is like, and then we're going to start focusing on all these storylines that we have. But right now we're just going to kind of cruise along into the end of this year. And then we're going to see where things happen, where things are in January, February. And then we're going to pick up the pace. Like, that's why I still like Stardom, because like, they don't think like that. They think we're going to try to put our best foot forward now. And then we're going to reap the benefits when things do open up. And I think they have a better sense of how to conduct their business as far as my own personal interest in wrestling products go.
Yeah. So sort of like just the like you mentioned the tournaments, like the just for me, like even just covering stuff that's primarily like how I like there are a lot of shows that I watch. Like I primarily keep up with like the American independents, like close to like IWTV and stuff like that, and then seeing some of the GCW shows, and like it's a bunch of good stuff going on in the independents right now in the states that I like tuning into. But like as far as Japan goes, like specifically New Japan, like with the best of the Super Juniors going on in the World Tag League, this is probably like the one time I can remember where I've like been completely checked out on best of the Super Juniors and Tag League. Like I've like not seen a single thing. Like I keep up, like I know what's going on. That's because I cover it for the site. Sometimes like when I do the results and stuff like that, that's how I'm able to stay up to date and know what's going on and who's leading and stuff like that. But it just feels like a real dry spot, and it's not just it's not interesting in the slightest to me right now.
To me, the most interesting thing in Japan is Stardom. I think as a top to bottom product, it's the most interesting for me, booking wise and in ring wise. But after that, it's probably like like the main event scene, the main event top tier level of Noah. I think is still really compelling. But one of my favorite things this year is the Big Japan Wrestling Strong Title championship being held by Takuya Nomura, who is like one of my favorite wrestlers. And like, he finally reached the pinnacle of the promotion that he's been in for all of his career. And like, he's just had match after match, but no one talks about Big Japan. So no one really, except for the most ardent hardcore fans, are talking about like what a great fucking wrestler and what a great title reign Takuya Nomura is having. Like, I want to take this time and say like, hey, go check out, like, it's out there. Like, if you can find Big Japan wrestling. You don't have to pay for their service, but you should pay for their service. But there's like things like that are out there, services out there that you can watch, like Takuya Nomura's like title reign in Big Japan Pro Wrestling. And it's really good stuff, especially if you like hard hitting wrestling. Okay. That's what Nomura provides, and like what I sorely miss in like some other companies that exist in Japan right now.
You say you talk about Big Japan. Did you what did you make about Drew Parker saying he was departing Big Japan? Because like the way he spoke about it, it sounded like he was done with Big Japan. And in their tweet, they said that it was a temporary thing, and they said that he's returning to his native of Wales. But Drew Parker is like set for like 5 GCW shows next month in the States.
I don't know too much about the situation with Drew Parker. Like, I think maybe he hit the pinnacle of what he was going to achieve in Big Japan, and maybe like if I'm Drew Parker, like I'm saying to Big Japan, hey, can I get a raise? Hey, can I get a little bit better deal than what you have me on right now in terms of money, maybe in terms of like, like health insurance and shit like that. And maybe, who knows, maybe these are things that like were a sticking point. I don't know. Like, I'm just speculating here. As someone who used to live and work for a Japanese company, a couple, in fact, over in Japan, these are all things that you think about as a foreigner living in Japan. But I can see like also like GCW is the hottest independent company right now, and if they are showing interest in him and saying, hey, we want to bring you over, we want to give you bookings like every show, and we're going to pay you this much money. Maybe they will help you like move over here, like try to help you with I don't know if they can help with a visa or anything, but like anytime, if you want a place to stay, we'll hook you up and shit like that. Okay. Like if I'm Drew Parker, like Drew Parker is going to make more of an impact and make more of a name for himself working for GCW than he is staying in Japan, working for Big Japan, which is, like basically a glorified indie. Like, it's not the best situation with the pandemic still over there for any company, let alone, like an indie, So I also think like, you're wrestling death matches. Like, you really got to be wanting to like get paid more money to do that bullshit. So.
Yeah, you wanna know what? Like, I really enjoy death matches. I don't know why. I just really enjoy seeing people do that to each other. Like, because they legit take pride in that. Like, and I just think that's cool. Like, and Drew Parker, he's only 23 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like, he been in Big Japan for like the past 3-4 years now. Like, dude is like
3 years, yeah.
2-3 years around that.
So, yeah.
Around that time. So yeah, for him to be 23 years old and to have been able to garner the experience that he's had, and now he's making the decision to obviously leave, and like I'm pretty sure it'll be no problem for him to get bookings. Like, it's because I think he did the GCW show over the summer. He actually defended the Big Japan deathmatch title in GCW over the summer. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Drew Parker. I think Drew. He's one of those guys. He kind of reminds me of like one of those guys that are primarily known for their deathmatch stuff, but they are really great technically. And it's sort of be cool to see him mix it up and do some different stuff. But yeah, Drew Parker's leaving Japan.
Yeah, I think he's just gonna make himself a bigger name wrestling in America than he would staying in Big Japan Pro Wrestling. So he hit a ceiling. You know what I mean? He won their deathmatch title, and that's awesome for him. Like, but that only will take you so far in terms of like your position and the spotlight that'll be put on you in Japan, because deathmatch wrestling is still kind of a niche thing, whereas like GCW is the hottest thing outside of AEW in American wrestling. So, and if he's getting offers from them, okay, if I'm him, especially if you want to be deathmatch wrestler, like go to GCW. If you're probably gonna make a bigger name and make more money potentially, like than you will staying in Japan.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah, I think it's interesting. Good for him. Like it's not my thing. It's not for. It's you and Benno, aka Deathmatch Richard, can like
Deathmatch Richard
go. Like love it all. It's fine. I don't care if people like deathmatch wrestling. I it's not for me. But at the same time, don't get on my case for not liking it. You know what I mean? Like let me not enjoy it. Okay.
People get on you for that.
Some people are like, why don't you like it, W? It's like, because I don't think it's good. If I criticize someone for liking it, I'm more or less joking because I like to get that kind of reaction from people, like making fun of it, like what they like, Yeah. But no, do I seriously have like less respect for Benno or Joey Bay or you because you like deathmatch wrestling? No, I don't care. I don't care. Like, great.
I never think like shit is that deep. It's never that deep. It's never that serious, bro.
It's like AEW. Like, I don't care if people like AEW. Like, that's great. I kind of envy people who enjoy it as much as they do right now, because like I wish I was that passionate about a wrestling product as much as people are about AEW. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. Like, okay, like I always find it funny when people are trying to convince me that I should like it. It's like, I'll like what I like, if I like it, I'll like it. If I don't like it, like, what does it matter to you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I said I had my Twitter just pulled up right now. I just saw the tweet for it. I sort of I ain't forget it. It just sort of reminded me. Got Io Shirai leading her War Games team on the 5th, December 5th. It's gonna be cool to see her. She probably gonna do some crazy shit off the cage or something like that. Moonsault like she did last year. They had put like a trash can on the top of her head, and she did like a back body drop off the top of the thing. So yeah, it's gonna be cool to see Io, man. She always ended up turning out being the star of these
why is she still matches. There? Why is she still in NXT?
Because to be honest with you, I genuinely do not want to see her on the main roster. I don't think it's gonna turn out good in the slightest.
You know what I mean? Like, she should have left like a year ago.
Oh, you mean like leaving? Well, I mean, I don't.
No, I mean like graduated from NXT, right? I mean, like no. Do I think she would have done well on the main roster? No, but like I think she has ambitions beyond NXT. I think she looks at Asuka and thinks, I could be like that. I'm just as talented. I could have been like Kairi. I could have done better than Kairi did on main roster. Like, I think she, like, if she gets cut in the next round or the rounds after that, like, I'm not going to be surprised, and probably might be, like, hey, here's the thing. She comes back to Japan. She's going to be a massive fucking
man. Star. Oh my God, dude. Like I think the impact that she could have in Japan if she were to make a full-time return. Cause I'm pretty sure she's going to be in like fucking demand, like in the States as well. But like if that, I don't. First of all, I don't want to lose a job, and if I'm pretty sure not one of us saying we want to lose a job, but just talking about the idea if she were like even necessarily not anything of being cut, maybe she just don't end up resigning or something like that. But like I just the demand that she would be in, and it like she like her coming from that, having that WWE label behind her, and then having the success that she has had in NXT. I think that'll do wonders, for her popularity in terms of, returning back to Japan, and like maybe a main roster run probably would help that. But I just don't have like the faith in WWE main roster booking. I don't feel like they don't know what like they're doing with anybody outside of Roman Reigns right now. So,
But I'm just saying, like, she should not be in developmental anymore.
That shit is full. That shit is full blown developmental right now. Like
it's totally developmental, and is but it could be worse. She could be like pretending she's not reading the teleprompter, but she actually is reading the teleprompter. Like someone else who's graduated from NXT. You don't know who I'm talking about, are you?
You talking about Aaliyah?
Yeah, I'm talking about Aaliyah.
I think that was just a bad camera angle. because they showed like the full, like the person who posted that clip cropped it. So like when I looked at the full clip on YouTube, like I let's see, I don't know, because maybe she was looking at something off to the side, like we could just see that, but like I
tweeted that because I thought it was hilarious, and then Wei like responded and said, like it's like you're saying, it's cut to make her look bad. So I watched the whole thing and I'm like, okay, she's not reading. Now she's reading the last part that's originally clipped. She's reading. Okay. And it's like, that's a weird camera angle. And I'm like, dude, this is the same company that makes people watch TV behind their backs over their like, of course they're going to have her read a fucking teleprompter that's at a bad angle. I don't put anything behind this company, like they're doing all kinds of stupid things to make their quote unquote superstars look like, original. But like how many times have we seen that, people watching TV from over their shoulder? That's not natural angle either. You know what I mean? But anyways, like, yeah, like I don't think that should be Io Shirai's lot in life in wrestling. Like go to AEW, go back to Japan. Like she'll be far, far, far more successful in that sense. But maybe on that note, maybe we'll wrap it up. I think we've gone over the time that you and I said, like, we'll make it about this time. But that's what happens when you and I get together here, Andrew.
Yeah, I tell you, WHI, again, man, I appreciate you having me on. I hope everybody who's listening to this enjoyed the audio. I feel like we touched on some of the major stories in Japan. I'm glad we got to that in the early parts, so people didn't have to wait. So they didn't have to wait. So me and you, we just had our like conversation, type of topics. But yeah, I enjoyed the conversation. I'm excited for the New Japan Noah show. I definitely got to start getting back into some of the big Japan stuff, because I do enjoy some of the deathmatch stuff, but I got to get back on. I haven't watched in a while.
I'll send you some links.
Look at you, nice guy.
I like links to the like legal logins. Yes,
to their service.
That's right. That's right. Like I actually have a legal login for their service that we'll talk later. Anyways, but yeah, so Andrew, like let's plug. Like you've been really busy. This is like your third show on Post Wrestling this week. Tell people where people can find you, where else they can hear your wonderful work.
Yeah, they can check everything out at Post Wrestling, man. I did a podcast with Braden Harrington this week. Very, very funny podcast that we recorded. Tried to make the best out of an NXT episode that was it was something. And we tried to make the best out of it, and I think we did. I did release the podcast this week with Martin, and we had Sid from True Heel Heat, SP3, as everybody knows him. And that was we covered ROH Final Battle 2005 with Kenta and Low Key main event. They beat the shit out of each other. Very, very fun match. Very enjoyed that. And now I'm recording with WH Park, and we're back Post Puroresu. That's
right. We'll do this again in the future. What's funny is like John was like, "Hey, you want to record Thursday?" I'm like, "Dude, MC Later's coming back." He's like, "Oh yeah, you're right." And it's like, any other night? He's like, "No, sorry." And I'm like, "Okay." So I thought, who can I get? You know what? I haven't talked to Andrew in a while. So I contacted you, and you were more than gracious enough to join me tonight. And I thank you for that, sir.
No problem, man. But I didn't mean to drag this podcast as long.
No. It's fun.
I thought we was legit gonna go an hour, and now it's fucking 1 a.m. So
oh, you're right. No, it's okay. Hey, I don't have to get up at 8 a.m. It's okay, no problem. No, listen. It's always fun talking with you, and I think our last show, or the first show we did together, got a lot of positive feedback. I know, like some people contacted me, like was like saying like they say we have a natural chemistry, so like I take that as
look at that. That's nice. Look at that. That warms my heart. That warms my heart.
So like I think people will enjoy this show as much as they did the last one. So but yeah, like you can listen to me on Post Puroresu, usually with John, but like sometimes with Andrew, sometimes with Karen Pearson, sometimes with Joey Bay, sometimes with Dylan Fox. We're gonna be opening things up maybe in 2022, Andrew. We'll see what happens with this show. You can also hear me on the long and winding Royal Road. And I just did an episode looking at one of the greatest 6-man tag matches from Cork and Hall with the great Jamesy. He came back to do that show with me, and we got a big show planned for the December episode of Long and Winding Royal Road. I'm not going to say who my guest is for that, but it's going to be a fun episode for when we eventually record that and release that. Of course, you can hear me every week, Andrew, talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe on Disney Plus with our good friend Wei Ting, the president of the Aaliyah Anti-Defamation Squad. But I don't hold that against him. We're still friends. We're just gonna hang out and watch Spider-Man: No Way Home when it comes out in person. And
shout out to Wei Ting. Good man, Wei Ting.
Shout out to Wei Ting. Yeah, we just released our episode about looking at the first 2 episodes of the new Hawkeye series, which has been really fun so far. You know what? I can't wait to talk about this with brother Nate Milton, because like I've been looking at his Twitter, and he's like, it seems like this show Hawkeye is like his favorite MCU show. So I can't wait to talk to him about it on MCU later in the near future.
You want to know what's funny? Before we get out of here, I saw my first Marvel movie yesterday. My first Marvel movie. I don't know what it was. All I know is I saw Batman and Wonder Woman. That's all I know. And I enjoyed the shit out of it. It was good. I thought I was not expecting to be as good as it was. So there you go. So
are you trolling me? That's not Marvel, dude.
That's not. Oh shit! I guess. Well, there you go. What a way to end the podcast right there.
Oh my God! Now you're gonna get as much like comments as John did when he's like he didn't know that Steve Rogers was Captain America.
I didn't know that either. So
I know. Are you being serious, or are you being facetious? I can't tell.
No, I'm being dead ass. Like, but I've never seen a Marvel. I thought that was like a Marvel movie. I was like, oh, this is cool. But
who's gonna be spitting his coffee right now? Who? His fucking Rich Fan from Pro Wrestling Torch. He's gonna be like, "What the fuck?" right now. I guarantee. When this episode is released, 2 hours after it's released, I'm gonna get a DM from Rich. He's going, "Is that guy playing you? Is that guy for real?" And I'm like, "Hey man, you should DM him." So maybe you're gonna get a DM from Rich Fan.
I'm gonna ignore it. Let me just ignore it. But no, shout out to Rich, man. Rich a good dude. Shout out to Rich.
Rich and me, we're like 2 peas in a pod as far as the comic book stuff goes, so like, hey, shout out to Rich. He doesn't like my slandering of the X-Men cartoon, but whatever. I don't care.
I legitimately thought Wonder Woman and Batman was fucking Mark.
Oh my God. Andrew, like, I don't care if you like death matches or not, but now like maybe I can't ever record with you again. I don't know. This might be it.
So on that note, WH, you want to send us home?
Yeah. I'm so shocked right now. Anyways, thank you, Andrew, for joining me this month on Post Perez. Hopefully next time it'll be me and John reuniting for Post Perez and definitely for the New Japan Noah review show. That'll be fun. Probably with Wei Ting. Probably on YouTube. Look forward to that in January. And and see you later. Long and Winding Royal Road, and like various appearances across the podcast landscape. I'm very popular in the UK. I don't know if you know this or not, Andrew. I'm very, very popular in the UK. So according to our friends Benno and Martin Bushby and JP Houlihan and Gareth over at the Grapple Spotlight, they're telling me like my popularity in the United Kingdom is it's definitely higher than NXT UK, but that's like so is pretty much everything else over there. So anyways, until next time, like I'm just gonna say thanks to Andrew, thanks to everyone for listening, and until next time, I'll say goodbye.